There was one question I kept asking about astrology for years. Is astrology actually real? I thought that was the intelligent question. It wasn't. The day I stopped asking that and started asking a completely different one, my entire relationship with astrology changed. And strangely, so did my relationship with myself. Because the problem wasn't astrology. It was the question I was asking it. In the next few minutes, I want to show you what that shift looks like. Not to convince you of anything, just to share how I use it. And if you've always been a little bit astrology curious, but also a little bit skeptical, this is exactly who I'm talking to. Before I say anything about astrology, I want to define something, because I think most people get this wrong. What is self-development? Most people think it's about adding more habits, more books, more routines, more techniques. I found it's often the opposite. It's removing everything that isn't really you. It's not about turning yourself into a different person. It's about returning to who you already are underneath the conditioning, underneath the patterns you picked up along the way, underneath the identity you built just to survive. That's the work I'm interested in. And astrology, used the right way, is one of the most powerful tools I've found for it. Everything on this channel comes back to one idea. The better you understand yourself, the better choices you can make. Astrology is just one of the ways that I've learned to do that. So what is astrology if it's not predicting the future? For me, astrology has become three things: a mirror, a map, and a compass. The mirror shows me patterns, the recurrent themes in how I relate, how I work, how I react. The map shows me the landscape, what season I'm in, and what this period of life might be asking of me. And the compass helps me choose my direction, not by telling me where to go, but by helping me understand what's aligned with who I actually am. Notice what none of these things do. None of them work for me. I still do that. The chart doesn't live my life for me. It just helps me meet my life with more honesty. And I find that far more interesting than any prediction. And transits do describe real energetic conditions. When you hear about Mercury retrograde or Jupiter expanding, eclipses shifting, these are real cycles worth paying attention to. But knowing the energy is only half of it. The question I always come back to is, now that I know what season I'm in, what am I going to do with it? Here's what I want to say to anyone who's still skeptical. You don't have to believe astrology controls your future to find value in reflecting on yourself. And here's something important. I'm not saying astrology replaces anything. I've read psychology, I've studied habits, I've explored mindset. I still use all of those. Astrology simply gave me a language that connected pieces I hadn't been able to connect before. That's it. Because self-knowledge and self-awareness changes behavior, and changed behavior changes outcome. That's not mystical. That's just how growth works. And awareness doesn't create change. Apply it, awareness does. And before I tell you my story, let me clear a few things up. Astrology doesn't mean nothing can change. It doesn't mean everything is predetermined. And it doesn't mean the stars make your decisions. If anything, it holds up a mirror and asks very quietly, now that you see this, what will you do? Astrology isn't the only path to self-awareness. It's simply one that has helped me enormously and one of my favorites for years. And this might be the most important thing I say today. Your birth chart isn't your identity. It's your starting point. And what you do from there is entirely yours. That's where free will lives. The chart shows the energy. You decide what to do with it. I want to tell you how this actually happened for me, because I wasn't someone who embraced astrology easily. Whenever someone mentioned it, my brain immediately rolled its eyes. Like, seriously, how could planets possibly know anything about me? I wanted evidence, logic, something I could actually test. The kind of mind that says, show me the evidence, and gets deeply uncomfortable with fakeness. I couldn't stand with generic horoscopes, like, for example, this week is good for Scorpios. What does that even mean? For years, my question was, is astrology actually real? And that question kept me going in cycles until I changed the question. The actual turning point happened when I was living in Barcelona and I was looking for a therapist. And I found someone who combined psychology with astrology, depending on what you chose. And I find that very interesting. He has really good reviews. So my curious mind said, okay, both. I like this approach, and I don't know, my intuition also agreed. And in those sessions, something clicked. I started seeing how astrology and self-development weren't separate things. They were asking the same questions, just in different languages. That's when I got genuinely excited. That's where everything started, actually. And I started asking, is this helping me and understand myself better? Is it helping me make kinder and clearer choices? The moment I changed the question, astrology stopped being something to believe in or dismiss and became a very practical mirror, not a fortune teller, a tool. And what I found in that mirror explained things I'd tell my entire life but never had language for. So I don't use astrology to escape responsibility. I use it to increase it, to understand my natural patterns, my strengths, where I tend to get in my own way and make choices that are actually aligned with who I am, not who I think I should be. Let me show you what this actually looks like, not in theory, but in real life. I'm going to share 3 personal examples with you. 3 moments where looking at my chart changed the question I was asking myself. Here's the first one. Why I kept drawing strong reactions from people. For most of my life, I noticed people had very strong reactions to me. I used to walk away from conversations wondering, why does this keep happening? Some people immediately felt warm, others seemed uncomfortable before they even knew me. And I spent years assuming I was doing something wrong, making myself smaller, trying to be less, quieter, less visible. My chart helped me understand that what I was experiencing wasn't a flaw. It was natural presence, not performance, not arrogance. Just how certain energy expresses itself in the world. And once I understood that, I stopped apologizing for existing. And I started asking a different question. Not, should I be allowed to show up this way? But more like, how can I show up more truthfully? So if you relate to that, maybe your first step isn't shrinking. It's asking, how can I show up more honestly, not more quietly? The second story example is why I kept trying to become someone I'm not. For years, I kept trying to become a different kind of woman, more spontaneous, less structured, more like go with the flow. And I thought that was what freedom looked like. And I thought my need for structure was a limitation. My chart showed me something I needed to hear. more like a mirror than a lesson, which is that I'm deeply structured and I'm deeply creative, both at the same time. And those two things were never in conflict. The conflict was me, fighting myself. Once I understood that, I stopped forcing myself to work like someone I'm not, and started designing my life to honor both, and found more balance and peace in that than I ever had, forcing myself into a shape that wasn't mine. And the third example, the pattern I couldn't see until I did this. There was a pattern in my relationships that I could feel but couldn't name. I kept overgiving, then feeling unseen, then pulling away, because it's not normal giving too much. And every time it happened, I think, why do I keep ending up here? When I saw how my chart described those tendencies, it didn't excuse them, but it named them. And once I could name it, I could notice it sooner and choose differently. That's why I say astrology used well doesn't remove responsibility. It increases it. If you want to try this, here is where I begin. You can go to astro.com or Cafe Astrology or AstroSeek. All of them are free. There are more out there, but those are the ones that I like to recommend. And you can enter your birth date, your exact birth time, and your birth city. You can generate your natal chart, and you will see the full explanation there. You can spend a few minutes reading it. And here's what I don't want you to do. Don't immediately Google, what does my moon sign mean? Instead, read it and then close the website. And spend a day or two just noticing yourself and ask, where do I already see this in my life? And then write down 3 things. This feels true because I've judged this part of me as, if I treated this as neutral information instead of a flow, what could I do differently this week? That's it. Awareness, acceptance, and aligned action. That's the whole process. And that's you using astrology as a self-development tool. Right now, without any mysticism required. I like it too, though. I'm less interested in astrology as only prediction. I'm deeply interested in astrology as transformation. And rather than keep this theoretical, I want to show you exactly what this looks like in real life. So in the next video, I'm talking one specific transit that is happening right now, and I will walk you through the whole process. Jupiter moving through Leo. And I will make this one especially for Leo risings and anyone with strong Leo placements in their chart. Not to tell you what will happen to you, but to help you expand into this energy and work with it intentionally. To use that transit as a mirror, as a map, as a compass, and show you how I actually work with it, what it's amplifying, what it's inviting, and how to use it instead of just waiting for it. So if you're a Leo rising or have Leo prominent in your chart, I genuinely think that video might be one of the most meaningful things you watch about yourself this year. So don't miss it. Subscribe and turn on notifications. Most people use astrology to ask, what is going to happen to me? I use it to ask, who is life inviting me to become? And those are completely different questions, and they lead to completely different lives. And today, I hope I've shown you why astrology became, for me, a mirror, a map, and a compass. None of them work for me. The journey is still mine. But understanding the season helped me stop fighting myself and start returning to myself. Astrology didn't change my life. I did. Applying what I learned from my chart did. There is a difference, and that difference is everything. Thank you for spending this time exploring all of this with me. Feel free to share your story and your thoughts, of course. I would love to hear from you as well. And welcome back to yourself.